Glum faces at ground control. India was attempting to become the fourth country to make it to the moon, but it was not to be. Everything appeared to be going well until the last few minutes.
Vikram lander descent was as planned and normal performance was observed up to an altitude of 2.1 kilometer. Subsequently, the communications from the lander to ground station was lost. The data is being analyzed.
The intention was to land near the moon's south pole, where no mission has gone before.
It was going to be a complex mission, but it would have, if it landed successfully, it would have added to the humanity's understanding of the lunar surface, the presence of water, and so on and so forth in that part of the world, in that part of the lunar surface.
The country's prime minister was on hand to celebrate success, but ended up commiserating with the scientists.
I was watching and I saw that all of your faces looked disappointed. What you've achieved is not a small feat. The country's proud of you and has learned a lot from this hard work.
Despite this setback, the other part of the mission, the lunar orbiter, remains in operation and will continue to study the moon for about a year. In just 3 years' time, India's rockets are also expected to send a person into space for the first time. The Air Force has announced the first phase of selection is complete, but it's clear the country's space programme still has some way to go. Bill Hayton, BBC News.
Well, Dr. Ken Kramer is a research scientist and journalist with Space Up Close, and he told us how important this moon mission was.
It's certainly a very important mission to India. It would have been their first lunar landing, and it's certainly an important mission to humanity, as one of the people on your broadcast say, because we want to learn more about the moon. We want to get to the South Pole. We want to expand what we know, because at the South Pole, that's where the water is, and so that's very important for future science.
How difficult was it for India to achieve what it was trying to achieve, to get this lander to actually land on the moon?
Well, it's very difficult. It's not simple. You know, more than half the probes to land on the moon have failed. The Israelis tried earlier this year, and they did not succeed. The Chinese tried at the beginning of this year, and they did succeed. So half of all missions have failed. So it's not a simple thing at all. But they learned a lot from trying, and one really has to applaud the Indians for doing this.
What makes it so difficult? Because we've seen, the Mars rover, other contraptions land on Mars, land on asteroids. Why does the moon remain so difficult?
Well, it's fully autonomous, and even at Mars, it's the same thing. Less than half the missions have succeeded. The U.S. has a really good success rate, but the other countries don't. You have to do a lot of simulations. You have to do a lot of work in order to make this work. And you mentioned asteroids. Yeah, we got an asteroid mission there right now, and the OSIRIS-REx mission, we want to grab a sample, but there's no guarantees. Those engines, they have to work just right. They lost communication about 2 kilometers altitude, and they have to descend. They have to break the descent from 3,600 miles down to 0 so they don't crash land. They have to find a spot that's safe. There's a lot of boulders all over the place. So that makes it extremely difficult. And the robot has to do it all on its own. It can't wait for any human intervention. So they have to program a lot of corrections in there to do it all right. And, it didn't work, but they do have the orbiter, and that's still continuing.
It does sound really challenging, and like it sort of pushes the limits of robotics and science. On a personal level, if so many of these missions fail, what is it like emotionally for the scientists that have spent many years working on it?
Well, it's sad. I'm a scientist, and when my experiments fail, I'm very sad about it. But we get up, and we try again, and we make it better, and we figure out what went wrong, and we go back and we do it even better the next time. And then usually it works out the next time if it doesn't work out the first time. So yeah, it is disappointing. You could see it. I watched the live broadcast. They're all excited. It's just like when NASA lands, or Russia, or anybody, or China lands, everybody's real excited, but you don't know until that final moment if it's going to work out or not. So yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster, but you know what? That's the way this business is, and that's what makes it really exciting, and we learn a lot from these missions in the end.
Dr. Ken Kramer. Well, within the last half hour, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told scientists at the Space Research Organisation he was proud of the program that had come so close to landing a probe on the moon. He said there would be further opportunities and the best was yet to come.